Welcome to the Environmental Justice Lab. I am your host, Dr. Leslie Joseph. Thank you so much for joining us. And today on the episode, we have some very special guests with us from the green Silicon Valley. We have Abhi and Ayush. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yes, I said it right. Perfect. So these gentlemen, they're high school students. They are amazing individuals, and they are here today because they have founded an organization called Green Silicon Valley, where they connect with high school students in order to teach elementary and middle school students about the environment, about STEM, about the climate, all kinds of great things. And they're here to tell us more about that organization. Gentlemen, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great this evening.
Yeah, I'm doing great this evening too. Thank you for asking.
No problem. And thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to learn more about your organization. I guess before we start talking about the organization, let's talk about you as individuals. Get to know the minds behind the organization, behind the company. And so I'll start with Abhi. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? What do you enjoy? And just let us know who you are.
Hi everyone. My name's Abhi. I'm a junior. In high school from Wilcox High School in Santa Clara, California. It's in Silicon Valley. I'm really passionate about the environment, about science in general, which is why I decided to co-found this organization with Ayush and a few others. And in my free time, I enjoy. I enjoy running. I enjoy contributing to working towards achieving my goals in organizations like this. And yeah.
Perfect. Ayush?
My name is Ayush. I'm also a junior at Adrian Wilcox High School, which is in Sunnyvale, California. In my spare time, I love to weightlift, play football, and build things.
Nice. Very nice. And so the whole organization is all high school students?
Yeah, it's all run by high school students.
Okay. So take us from the very beginning. So, and either one of you can answer the question, but how did this idea come about to start this type of organization and do this kind of work? Was it one person's idea? Did you all kind of think of it together? How did you come up with this? And what was it like getting it off the ground?
Yeah, so the way we came up with this idea was we entered into a competition during our freshman year with our local business club, and we ended up winning with this idea. We originally came up with this idea because we all wanted to have high school students have more access to STEM, and we wanted to go into classrooms, specifically middle school and elementary classrooms, and present about STEM and give the students an opportunity to have hands-on experiences with STEM. So we got started with a $5,000 grant from Silicon Valley Power, and we did our first couple presentations at Peterson Middle School. Now, we did those presentations with the 6 of us, so we were actually going into the classrooms and presenting for the entire day about STEM, and we had all these kids, and it was really fun. But we slowly realized that over time, we were the ones who couldn't, consistently be going to classrooms, and we couldn't have a massive reach like that. So what we ended up doing was we have high school volunteers now who go into classrooms and do the presentations. And we run the back end and logistics of all of it and how it all works.
Nice. I'll be the same story. Like you were all in the same group together and you all came up with this idea, competed in one, and that's kind of how things got moving and shaking. And so I guess one question I would have for you is, how have you as a group decided who does what and who's responsible for what aspects of the organization?
Yeah, so we broke up the roles in our organization based on what each person's interested in. So for example, Ayush and then this other guy who runs our website, they're both interested in computer science. So they're responsible for coding the website and maintaining it. Along with that, another one of our founders is interested in going into business once he goes to college. So he's responsible for the marketing. And yeah, so based on each person's individual interests, we decided to break up roles so that like each person has their own unique thing, like the roles don't overlap, and that
Mm-hmm.
makes sure that everything runs really efficiently and organized.
Okay, and what's your role?
My role is that like I handle outreach partnerships, like reaching out to people mainly internationally, and also yeah, just that.
Okay, so wait, so internationally, so now this isn't just a local Sunnyvale, California thing. So you're international with this organization.
Yeah. So beyond just the US, like we have like 5 or 6 chapters in the US, but beyond that, we've expanded to Tunisia, South Africa, Nigeria now. That's something that we want to talk about, the Nigeria one, because that one's really significant. And I think I mentioned Pakistan, I'm not sure, and China too, and we're continuing to expand to more countries.
Okay, wow. So we'll get to that then. I didn't realize that y'all were international, so I got to add it to my list of questions to ask you because that's really interesting. So, what do you, or I guess the volunteers, what are they actually doing when they go to these schools? When you say they do presentations, they help students learn STEM in the environment, like what's actually happening? Is PowerPoint kind of teaching? Is it like experiments? Are you going out in the field and doing stuff? Like what's actually going on the ground when this is happening?
Yeah, so the way the presentations work with our volunteers is we'll have our volunteers give a short, really short, 5 to 7 minute lecture on what it is, what they'll be doing, why it matters. And we try to keep this really short and as engaging as possible because from our own experience, we know that lectures aren't really the best way to teach. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll do that for 5 to 7 minutes. And right after that, we'll switch into our main activity, which is actually building something. So usually we'll have a kit for the students to break up into groups of 5 to 6, and they'll build this kit together. So an example of the kit would be turning salt water into electricity. And then we'll talk about
Mm-hmm.
the STEM impacts of that as well as the environmental impacts of that as well.
Nice. And so how many students are, or how many are you able to kind of work with at one time? Are you doing large classrooms? Are they really small groups? Are there multiple groups at the same time doing the same activities? Like, how is that navigated when you enter into a school, when you start doing these presentations?
Yeah, so the way it works is our volunteer group will stay at a teacher's class for all of their classes. So say they have period 1, period 2, period 3, etc., etc. They will stay in that teacher's class for all of the classes and they will give presentations to each one of that teacher's periods. And yeah, so we'll do it in those batches and we'll split up the students into
Mm-hmm.
groups of 5 to 6 just so we have enough kits for everybody and everybody can equally participate. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming that each class period is a different set of students coming
Yeah.
in. And so you're seeing, I guess you could see up to maybe hundreds of students each time you go there if you're staying the whole day. So that's pretty exciting. The kits. So what are these kits? Are you creating the kits? Do you have like a vendor that supplies kits? How are the materials kind of put together for these presentations?
Yeah. So the kits, like we don't create them or anything like that. The volunteers are responsible for finding the kit they want to use. Like we have a few criteria, like it can't exceed a certain price. It has to focus on whatever issue that they choose to present on. And then they
Mm-hmm.
basically just send us a link for the kits or they buy it themselves and then we reimburse them for the kits. Yeah, so the
Okay.
kits are mainly off of like Amazon or eBay, any kind of app like that. Basically, in any way that they want to get the kits, they can. We're just gonna give them the money back for it.
Okay. Okay. So we're buying the kits and they're using it in the cup. How many volunteers do you have?
So we have over 500 volunteers, both nationally and internationally.
Whoa. Okay. That's a strong team. And so these volunteers go into the school, they stay all day, they do presentations with each of the classes. If I'm doing the math right, you might have 20 kids in the class, 4 groups per class, 7 classes. It adds up quick, the cost to run this kind of organization. So I guess the question comes, where does the money come from? How are you able to support this large effort internationally when it comes to these presentations and these opportunities?
Yeah, so the way we're able to support these presentations is through mainly crowdsource funding, as well as partnerships with nonprofits, as well as generous philanthropists who choose to donate to us. So, an example is we get funding for a specific region of California sometimes, and we get that funding specifically for that region. So that means we can't really go past that region with that funding. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we get philanthropists who just want to come and donate to us, like love the work we're doing. And we can use that for any presentation we have anywhere in the world. And yeah, sometimes we get our funding through social media, such as our TikTok, our website, Instagram, anything like that.
Okay, very cool. And raising the money has been going okay, or do you find yourself deficits or having some challenges trying to close some of the gaps, or everything's going pretty good?
Yeah, so the main problem we've been having, our main throttle cap actually has been the funding. So funding has been going, okay, but what we've realized is we've far exceeded the number of teachers and volunteers who have applied and want to do presentations than the amount that we can fund. So that's our
Yep.
biggest throttle cap right now.
Okay. Do you want to add something, Abhi? I saw you kind of leaning in a little
No,
bit.
no. I was gonna say the same thing. Like initially, it was really bad. Like we didn't have enough money to fund the few volunteer groups we did have when we started. But now, now that we've partnered with more people, with more organizations, met more people, we've started to get more funding, and we can really get presentations going at a faster rate and more frequently. But funding is still like the biggest kind of issue that we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have so much outreach, we have so many teachers, so many schools, so many partnerships, but we don't necessarily have the funding for every single partnership or location that we work in.
Interesting. And I imagine it's a challenge too, because if I understand correctly, the actual presentations and the service to the schools is free for the schools themselves. So they're not actually paying anything to have these people come to their school to present. You're freely volunteering all of your time, all the resources, all the materials to do these presentations. So that's pretty cool, but it will add up quickly. Let me ask you this. I know a lot of STEM programs, a lot of STEM academies really highlight their ability to get professionals to come and do presentations. You get the local engineer to come in, or a local biologist to come in, or you have a college student who's studying it in school come in and give presentations. But you are all focused on making sure that high school students are the ones that are volunteering and going to middle schools, going to elementary schools. Was that an intentional decision? And if so, why specifically high school students as opposed to some of these older, more, I guess, celebrated professionals that could come in?
Yeah, so the reason why we have high schoolers doing the actual presentations is the main reason is we get a twofold effect. So the best way to learn is to teach. So not
Yes.
only are we getting high school volunteers to be able to teach the content, we're also getting middle schoolers on the other end who are receiving the content and getting the education from that. So that's our biggest reason for why we have high schoolers doing this. Not to mention that they can earn volunteer hours, it looks
Mm-hmm.
great on their resume, everything like that. Those are the main reasons that we have high schoolers doing it, as well as just the fact that high schoolers can really relate a lot more to middle school and elementary schoolers than, an older professional might.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm sure they can connect better than someone like me coming into the school and trying to teach those concepts. And so that is pretty innovative from my perspective. And I'm amazed that you have so many people in high school volunteering. The criticism of your generation is that, the younger generations, they're not really going after, they're not really, applying themselves well. They're just spending all their time online and doing things like that. But your organization and your volunteer base is a clear indication it's not truly the case. I mean, your generation is going for it. I strongly believe that the youth are really going to be the ones who elevate and push things forward. And so it's amazing to see what y'all are doing. What would you say is your ultimate goal for the students that you're teaching through this organization that you have? I mean, are you trying to just introduce people to concepts so they're just made aware of it? Are you trying to steer them to certain careers? Are you trying to highlight, issues around the world? Like, what would you say is the primary goals for the recipients of your presentations and for your engagement?
Yeah. So the primary goals of our presentations, it's kind of a combination of what you said. Like in our presentations, the volunteers talk about how STEM can be used to solve environmental issues. So that also contributes to like bringing up a curiosity about STEM in students who may not have had one earlier. And also like the climate change and the environment, that's a huge issue considering the growing population, growing need for resources, growing usage of resources, all that. It's like really, really important now for our generation to know like how to conserve the environment, the importance of conserving the environment, what happens when they don't conserve the environment. So like that's another goal of ours, to really, really like get the people being presented to understand why it's important and to conserve the environment and how they can do that.
Nice. And so this is a very targeted kind of environmental type of education that you're providing. This is not a lot of STEM programs are things like robotics, and you're building cars and, planes and things that kind of move around that are fun to build. They really are fun to build, but they're not necessarily environmentally focused. But you're saying that what y'all are doing is more targeted toward environmental education, climate and water and things of that sort.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is we really have two main things that we're trying to do, which are introduce the younger generation to the problems in STEM and then show them possible solutions that we can have with STEM. So we're trying to expose them to both sides of the problem, which is the environmental side as well as the STEM side. So if we can, just open up the doors, so if they see they like it, they can pursue it in the future. And if they see they don't like it, well, they know that's a door that's not open for them. So we're just trying to expose them and give them an idea of what is out there for them.
Nice. And I do want to get to the scope of your organization because we heard earlier that it's international in scope. But before we get there, how do you identify where you're going to actually work? Do you reach out to these schools and kind of pitch yourself to them? Are they reaching out to you, asking for you to come? Like, how do you build those relationships and begin to build out these networks and these chapters to serve these different schools?
So as of right now, like so far, we are the ones that have been reaching out to schools through cold emails and all that. And then like something that we didn't mention earlier is that each presentation or like each volunteer group is supposed to focus on issues local to where they're presenting. So when we reach out to different places, especially internationally, we really mention that we understand that there's this specific issue, environmental issue prevalent in that area, and we can like really provide good education about it. So yeah, we have been reaching out to people so far. The goal is hopefully that like we become big enough, our presentations become successful enough that other people refer us through word of mouth. Yeah, that's just how we've been going out about partnering with people so far.
Nice. I can't imagine anybody saying no to a free STEM presentation. So I'm sure once they're made aware of what you're willing to provide, I'm sure they respond in a very positive way. I know I would, because we need as much support as we can get from whoever's willing to give it. Now let's talk about what you've been kind of alluding to this whole time, which is this international scope of your organization. So from what I understand at this point, it's definitely in California. Is it anywhere else in the United States? Any other states? Any other parts of the country? And then from there, tell us about how far and wide this organization reaches?
Yeah, so we're specifically based in California. What we originally planned to do was have a California expansion as well as a national expansion to other places around the U.S. But what we found was we really wanted to serve our local community, which was California, and then we realized that in the US, there really wasn't that many STEM deserts because we realized that internationally, there was definitely a lot greater of a need for having STEM education as well as environmental education. So basically, what we realized was the US does have a need for STEM and environmental education, but the international need is far greater. So once we realized that we just wanted to serve California and international countries.
Mm-hmm.
So where we went from there was we started to outreach to other schools in other countries, and we've been getting a lot of positive responses. So as Abhi was talking about earlier, we have schools that we're partnered with all over the world in Kuwait, Tunisia, China, Pakistan, Malabo, the Philippines, all over the world really. And all in all, we have about 200 teachers and schools who we're partnered with internationally. So that's been our scope so far.
Wow. So you went online, looked up schools in these countries, and just reached out to them?
Yeah.
Like cold emailed Chinese middle schools
And
and
high schools.
high schools and Pakistan and Tunisia. And I mean, do you even speak the language? I guess you Google translated the email before you sent it? Like, how'd that work?
Yeah. So we actually we would delegate these tasks. We would have it be such that some of the emails will be sent out by our interns, where we do have a team of interns who help us run this organization and all the presentations, as well as the founders. So we would have a quota for every founder and every intern to send out these many emails every day or every week, and through
Wow.
that we've kind of expanded a lot. And in terms of international expansion, we've also been reaching out to high schools and asking if they have any volunteers who would want to do these presentations at middle schools, because whenever we have a presentation, we need both the middle school and high school volunteers.
I was wondering about that because I can't imagine you flying out volunteers from California to these countries and hiring interpreters to try and deliver these presentations. And so you've been able to connect with these schools in these other countries, get volunteers at the local high schools in these countries to then give presentations to the middle schools in these countries. And you've been sending the kits over to them to do it?
Yes. So we'll order the kits directly to the volunteers or directly to the middle school, wherever our operations department tells us to send it out to.
Wow. That's very impressive. That is very impressive. Do you feel like you have reached out to the places that you want to reach out to, or are you trying to go further into the world with your organization?
I mean, so far we don't really have like a set list of places that we want to reach out to. We're just kind of reaching out to any international STEM desert we can find.
Okay. And man, so many things I want to ask you about that. Well, tell me a fun experience or story. I know you mentioned earlier about Nigeria. You want to get to Nigeria. What's going on in Nigeria? What do we need to know about that particular endeavor?
So in Nigeria right now, we partnered with this organization called the Yeti Youth Empowerment Foundation, I think. And then basically over there, they help the youth in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, there's this one place called Mushin, Lagos, something like that. And over there, there's like a huge socioeconomically underprivileged population over there. And it's gotten so bad that like high schoolers our age have to resort to like joining the military or joining like violent operations to just feed their families, feed themselves. So the organization that we've partnered with is like she went and talked to the Nigerian military to institute a program that basically provides essential job skills and education to people in Nigeria. So, right now, so we have a plan right now to basically spread our education over there and help the kids there that are like high school age students to like get back on their feet without having to like resort to what they do now, and provide them education, not just in the environment, but also in like regular everyday skills like barbering,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, that kind of stuff. And also there's a lot of like trash there is what we heard. So recycling could be a huge business in that area, which really connects to what we're doing. So yeah.
Oh, wow. So, okay, but now we're going a little bit further than what you typically provide. If you're talking about providing education for essential skills, and I guess the idea would be preparing them to kind of live on their own and be sufficient. And so how is that going? Because I'm imagining that wasn't what you signed up for originally when you got involved with this.
Yeah, so actually, I'll like backtrack a little bit. So the way we even got like partnered with this organization was, so one of the teachers we presented to at Newark Middle School, she reached out to us and invited us to this event where we met, and she introduced us to her organization. And she kind of told us the whole backstory of what happened, and she's from Nigeria herself. So it's really incredible. She's an amazing person. And she actually went to Nigeria and round up all the kids, about 500 kids, and brought them into this one room and talked to all of them. And she basically asked them, she's like, what do you guys need to stop the violence and stop all these gang wars, everything that you guys are doing? And they said that their biggest problem was that they needed jobs. They needed a way to provide for their family. And so when we were talking to her, we kind of realized that, that's something we could provide, because the biggest problem was in Nigeria, you have to serve, I think it's like 35 years in the military, or it's something like that. You might have to serve until you're 35. I'm not sure exactly what it is. There's something like that. So what a lot of the kids would have to do is they would have to go into the military. And once they were out of the military, then the military would provide for their job training. So what this teacher did was she actually went to the military and convinced them to train the kids for free on her own dime. So she would pay for their education essentially. So she's also fundraising for this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what we decided to do was we can partner with her and her organization, and we can have our high school students train them on possible everyday skills. Now, it wouldn't be, just how to barber and everything like that. It might also be more geared towards STEM, since we do have a lot of bright minds in Silicon Valley. This is the tech capital after all.
Yeah.
We are hoping that we get high school volunteers who would want to teach this and help other students maybe learn about computers, maybe learn how to fix computers, everything like that, and help them get jobs in this realm.
Interesting. That is very interesting. And very impressive that you're engaged in that kind of development work in Nigeria. Any other interesting or unique scenarios that you've encountered moving out into the international space with your organization?
Not really. Honestly, that's probably the most interesting situation we've been in. I'm sure there will be a lot more that come up as we expand cross internationally.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there will be. And there's so much need. And if you're willing to kind of listen and respond to the needs, I'm sure there'll be some other unique things that come up, and they'll be glad that you're willing to help and support them in those ways. Let's talk about the sustainability of your organization, because you're all high schoolers, which is fantastic. I love the fact that young people are on the front lines engaged doing this kind of work, and then teaching younger people who will then presumably come up and teach younger people, and you have like a little cycle going where people are going to always have opportunities to learn about STEM. But I do know that high school comes to an end at some point. At some point, you're going to graduate high school, and I imagine you're going to go to college. You're going to do something beyond high school. And so if the commitment is for high schoolers to do this work continually, what is the plan for the organization itself? So you're founders, you're doing operations, marketing, fundraising. logistics. Will you continue doing that when you graduate? Are you planning on handing that to another group of high schoolers to run the organization? Like, how do you envision the long-term viability of your organization as you move forward?
So as we go to college, we still plan to be involved in the organization, but not as closely as now because like we're going to be really busy in college with our own education, jobs, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we're looking for people that we could hand the organization off to, like passionate, like driven high school students who have the same vision as us for the organization. And we also have like a lot of interns. We have like 15 plus interns right now that manage like day-to-day operations and logistics and stuff for us. So yeah, we're mainly looking into them to see if we find anyone that's like that matches what we're looking for. It's as driven, passionate, and has the same vision. But yeah, it's basically our future plans for the organization right now.
Nice, nice. And so, okay, so we're going to have these high school students come up, continue the organization. Does this experience of founding this organization and running it, does it give you or any of the founders, any particular ideas or thoughts about what you want to do kind of professionally or more long term when you're graduated and moving forward? Like, do you see yourself doing this type of work as professionals, as adults, or do you see yourself kind of moving into different spaces after you're kind of done with this phase of the organization that you're working on now?
Yeah, so I know for me specifically, this organization has really meant a lot to me and meant a lot to what I want to do in the future. So before this, I really just wanted to go into maybe engineering, some sort of mechanical engineering. But what I've realized from this is since we're really running it like a startup, or I mean, it really is just a startup without the profits, right? So I've really realized that I love business, and in the future, I plan to double major in mechanical and business. And more than that, I've realized that I really love startups. So I plan to maybe create my own startup, or I really love the entrepreneurial mindset and everything that comes along with it. So that's something that's really been interesting to me and something I found out through the organization.
Nice. What about you?
Yeah, for me too, like I learned through this organization, like talking to different people, running all the operations and all that, like the business world, and just like reaching out to people, talking to different people, exchanging ideas with people is something that I really like. It's like it's something that I find really interesting. I've learned a lot from it. I've enjoyed a lot doing that. So like yeah, it's definitely something I want to do in the future in college too. Like maybe start, as you said, like start a startup, something like that.
Nice,
So
nice.
yeah, I feel like this organization's just like really exposed me, and like I'm pretty sure other founders too, to like a new dimension of options that are available after college, not just, or after high school, not just like your traditional doctor, lawyer, engineer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would credit that business competition at your school as really giving not just you, obviously, but everybody at the school an opportunity to really think big and to really be creative without the pressure of having to be successful right away, right? You can kind of give things a try, see how it goes, make adjustments along the way. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it's always a good experience to have that kind of opportunity. And so to see how you've taken that idea through the competition and expanded so much, it really is impressive. What do you see Green Silicon Valley looking like in 5, 10, 15 years? Is it going to be, well, you tell me, what would you want it to look like in the future?
Yeah, so for me, I really want it to be still high school run. Obviously, I still want everyone who's actually on the executive board, all the interns, everything like that to be high school run. I would hope that we have long-standing partnerships with schools so that we have schools and volunteers who are partnered with not just middle schools, but also high schools, where they want to promote Green Silicon Valley and the internship and volunteer opportunities that come along with it. And every year, we can have volunteers from every high school who go to the same middle school or different middle schools. And maybe that could be, a high school senior project or, a history project. And maybe they have a certain class for it. Really just be integrated in the school system. Besides that, I hope we have a long-standing partnership with bigger nonprofits or bigger philanthropists who can really help donate to us and keep our funding on track so we can cater to all of our volunteers and schools and everything that comes along with that.
Nice. Abhi, what do you want to see out of your organization in the future?
That depends on who we give it to, but what I see in the future is that we expand to a lot more countries apart from like the 7 we have right now. I'm also seeing that we have a lot of volunteers. Funding is not an issue. We have abundant funding to fund as many presentations as we can. And yeah, like mainly apart from just the organization itself, I want to see that we reach like 1 million or more students, like as many students as we can, so that, and then we have like a positive impact on their understanding of the climate, of STEM, of different STEM careers, all that.
Yeah, no, I hope so too. I mean, that's the big draw when I think about what you guys are doing. It's this idea that there's thousands of young people all around the world who are being taught and trained and exposed to all of these environmental issues and concerns, and they're being educated in ways that would have them think differently about the world around them, especially because you target the presentations to their local concerns. That's going to be a really impactful way of engaging the students. And so I'm really excited about that. And so before we end, you have to tell all of us listening how we can support your organization. Obviously, funding is something that we all need. Is there a special way to do that? Are there other ways that we can get the word out and really uplift your organization? What can we do?
Yeah, so we would love any sort of partnerships, not just funding partnerships. We would just love to talk to people. And we love talking to people about Green Silicon Valley. We love talking to them about the environment, STEM, anything related. So if you have any comments, concerns, anything that you want us to do better, you think we can do differently, you want us to come to your school, you want to volunteer with us, just check out our website at greensiliconvalley.com. You can also email us at info@greensiliconvalley. Other than that, if you guys want to volunteer, if you guys want to sign up as a teacher, anything along those lines, just visit our website or shoot us an email and we'd be more than happy to set you up.
Perfect. And it could be anybody anywhere. It doesn't have to be anybody in California specifically or any of those countries that you named. It could be anybody who's interested, who wants to support wherever they are. They can reach out and get involved.
Yeah, 100%. Anywhere, anyone, anywhere.
Nice. And for you listening out there, please go to the website, find a way to get involved, support these young people as they advance environmental education, STEM education, climate education, all of those things. We need more people like Green Silicon Valley out there helping us create a better world that can be sustained for generations to come. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having us on. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And so that is it for us. This has been another episode of the Environmental Justice Lab, where we are for the people and the planet. We'll see you next time.